The streak was snapped, and in impressive fashion. Led by Ryan Nall in a punishing rushing attack, the Beavers got their first Pac-12 win of the season and of the Gary Anderson era. Up next, a familiar foe. Coach Anderson's alma mater, Utah, rolls into Research Stadium. We'll break it all down with the coach himself. Beavers Inside the Huddle starts now.
In shotgun, flanked by Artavis Pierce. Bolden in motion, bad snap. Garrettson keeps it, gets the lane. Garrettson to the 5. Touchdown Beavers, and the Beavers win it. Darryl Garrettson takes it in, and the Beavers win it in overtime, 47-44.
And that was Mike Parker with the damn good moment, brought to you by Flat Tail Brewing. The voice of the Beavers calling and capping off what was an overtime victory for the Beavs. Steve Priest, how great was that?
Boy, it was fun. Every phase of the game, and you kept thinking, hey, the Beavers got it, then they're going to lose it, and then these young kids came back and played so well at the end and, came through when it was necessary. And in all phases of the game, it was just an awesome night.
Plenty of times that the Beavs could have flinched. Young teams in the face of adversity, they didn't once.
They didn't flinch. They got injuries during the game. They fought through them. They had tough situations. You think Cal's going to come back and do it like they've done already this season a couple of times. But no, Beavs held on. The best thing about it is a young team needs something, and now they got it.
All right, let's dive right into it then with our pyramid heating and cooling, hot and cold. Not much cold, but plenty of hot to talk about, Steve, especially the funny numbers that this offense put up on the ground. Darryl Garrettson and Ryan Nall, a punishing rushing attack.
Well, we talked about needing to get somewhere against the worst rush defense statistically in the league, but we didn't count on 474 yards, including stuff like this with Ryan Nall. I mean, this was an 80-yard run. He beats people up. He gets unbelievable blocking from people downfield. Look at Victor Bolden chasing it down. It was just a nice night for all over. The wide receivers as well as the offensive line, blocking people, hitting them, driving them out of the end zone, and this guy running like crazy. 221 yards.
And what a lot of times we're not seeing here when you're watching on TV or if you're watching at home is the offensive linemen. They were holding their blocks without holding for 7, 8, 9 seconds a pop.
Absolutely. And remember, this is an offensive line that just got together. As you look at the stats on these guys, 2 guys averaging 10 yards a carry. When have you seen that? One of them is a quarterback. And you got to say that Darryl Garrettson did one of the most amazing things in the way he controlled the game, the way he kept the timing together. Just found out a couple of days before the game they wanted to snap it at 5-6 seconds left. I don't think he had an offsides, or excuse me, an illegal procedure. I don't think he had anybody make a mistake, and that's tough to do. And they're just starting to do it.
And it also shows there is no quarterback controversy at Oregon State, right? That's what the talking points were after the last 2 games when Connor Blount comes in and mop-up duty, but preserving Darryl Garrettson for moments like that, times like that, not risking injury.
Absolutely. Experience. Darryl Garrettson has experience, and it goes all the way as far as the quarterback's concerned.
There was a little bit of cold, though, in this game. There wasn't a lot of it, but there was a little bit, especially the 4th down defense at times for the Beavs. Late in the 4th quarter, they give up 2 critical 4th down plays.
They did. The rushing, the Beavers give up over 300 yards, and that's inexcusable. They played so well. But when a team goes into these kind of games, they say, what do we have to do to win? And what the Beavs had to do was to stop this quarterback, and stop him they did. He ends up on 124 yards, and he was well over 475, one of the leaders in the nation going into this game. So what a great job.
And we talked about this briefly, but the poise, the not flinching, how big was it? It wasn't just on the offensive side when Ryan Nall goes out, but they withstand the injuries on the defensive side of the ball late in the game. And really what was holding Cal when all the momentum was on their side in that 4th quarter to tie the game in overtime. It was a great hold.
Yeah, it really was. And you've mentioned 2 of them. The one just before when they kept him from getting the touchdown and instead made plays on the ball, just did a great job. I thought the Beavers secondary played man-to-man or zone, but won every darn battle between the 2 players. And that's unusual to do.
Absolutely it is. We earmarked a play. It was the clinching play. We heard Mike Parker call it. Now we get Steve Priest to break it down as we head on over. And where do we start with this touchdown run in overtime?
Well, this is a lot of fun because, there's some rules in football, and that's when you got 8 guys in the box, you throw the ball. And if you count these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And by the motion that's going to come in play, you're going to get a ninth guy in the box. So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to be running something out here with these two guys and make it work. But that doesn't happen. Watch this play as it develops. Great blocking again as you see Bolden come across. Now, you noticed right here the quarterback, he flipped the ball up. It gave just enough timing problem that it drew this linebacker one step too far. It allows Sean Harlow to make a block inside and then come off and seal it there. It just turns out to be the play of the game because there was a little bit of a break in the timing. See that? And then great cut there by Garrettson. Again, over 10 yards of carry by the quarterback. And what a day for him, as you said earlier. No quarterback controversy now.
You know, we talk about football being a game of inches. That play, that linebacker shifting over just a little bit gave enough to make that a huge gain.
No question. And you know how many times in punts and kicks where you see people, a little mistake, a drop ball, and everybody stops or slows up or the timing's off and boom, big play. So, yes, that's what happened.
All right. Let's, enough with us. Let's hear from the man himself. Coach Gary Anderson in his first Pac-12 win as the head coach of the Beavs. His guys were celebrating. He was celebrating. Coach Gary Anderson sits down with us next.
It's awesome for these kids. I'm proud of them. They deserve it. They worked their tails off to get here, and it's a good moment. And so now we ought to understand that's what you're supposed to do, is win football games. But these kids have, as you know, if you cover this team closely, these kids have been through a lot, and they've battled and they've fought, and I say it every day. There's no give up in them. There's no quit in them. They keep battling. So it's a great day to be a Beaver. Our fans deserve that. They deserve that victory. I appreciate everybody that was there. It's awesome to be able to celebrate that victory with those kids in that stadium in Reeser with our fans there. So special moment for me, one I'll never forget.
The Beavs battle their way to an overtime win against the Golden Bears, and now we head down to Corvallis, and Coach Gary Anderson joins us live from Corvallis. Coach, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing very well. Coach, one thing that we were talking about is the fight in this team, and not flinching is something we were discussing earlier. You talk about the resiliency of your young team in a situation where there's plenty of times that they could have rolled over, and a lot of young teams do, but they didn't against the Cal Golden Bears, and what that means to your program?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very important part of this game in particular. Versus Cal, it was a game that we had played well, and obviously in the fourth quarter they reeled us back in. Now we talk about this all the time in this league, that you're going to have to deal with the ups and downs, and you see them every week, and I share scores with our kids of exactly what happens in games, and we were put in a position to have to react. They got it into overtime obviously, and for our kids to be able to look themselves in the eye, and you know, way back when that first day in August when we sit down and meet and go through the policy manual, we talk about getting into those moments, and there's a play that somebody's going to make that's going to be checkmate in those close games, and the checkmate play happened to be the last play of the game, which was fun for those kids to be able to see as a team, and then also to get into the position to where we talk about, you know, you get into a spot where you haven't been, where you haven't succeeded, and you haven't been able to get yourself over the hump for a long period of time, and the number of our kids that have had success in Pac-12 games is very, very small as far as being on the field and actually contributing. And for them to stay in and hang in there, you know, we believe we train that way all season. We believe we train that way off the field to keep fighting and believing that you can get something done. And so it was a big step. There's no question. And, you know, we talk about it all the time. You have to be a professional student athlete. And when you get in those moments, somehow, some way, special players make special plays to win games, and that's what took place. So it was a great evening, and to have it happen at home was special. It was something to, like I said after the game, I don't know what else to say other than that's a game that I will forever remember.
Coach, nothing more special, and nobody played more special than your offensive line. First time they'd been together as 5 starters. To come up with 474 yards is amazing against Cal. These guys, 3 seniors, a redshirt freshman, another young player who came in just a week ago, a true freshman. What a job by your offensive line.
Yeah, no question. I agree. They they did a great job of blocking that first level defenders. I think there was a very good game plan in place for them, obviously, that gave them an opportunity to take advantage of certain scenarios and situations. The offensive line did their part to get the running backs through the first level and into the second level. And once the running backs got there, I thought they did a tremendous job of making second level defenders miss with physicality at times and with putting the move on some guys at times. And then the blocking downfield just from the wide receivers. We talk about all the time about the longest play in football is a punt return. And you have to battle for a long time when you're on the punt return team, and those blocks take forever. Well, it was the same on those big runs in this game with our wide receivers. They stuck on their blocks for a long period of time. They weren't handsy. They didn't grab. They finished blocks the right way. When it was time to get off, they got off of them. So that was the offense that got those rushing yards. The offensive line obviously gets it all started, which was great to see. And again, it was just a well-rounded, executed offensive game plan for that particular game. And that is the key in this game of football that we play, is when you see an area that you think that you can take advantage of, you sure do your best to do it within the game plan, and then the kids execute it. It's fun to watch those things happen.
You know, it's a total effort in the secondary when the Bear Raid comes to town, but we wanted to highlight Tristan Decoud and kind of the effort that he has had the last couple of weeks. And can you talk about what's clicked with him to where he's emerged into one of the premier corners in the Pac-12?
You know, sometimes when we recruit JC players, we say we get them here for a year and a half, and then we get them for 6 to 8 and 9 games, and all of a sudden they leave on us after their second year. And it's kind of where it is with Tristan right now. He's grown so much. You know, just talking to him today on the practice field and walking in between we have a break halfway through practice that we give the kids a little nutrition, and I had a chance to talk to him for a couple minutes, and just the way he reflects and goes back on how much he's learned and where he was a year ago playing in these games in the Pac-12 and where he is today. It's a credit to him. It's a credit to Corey Hall, his position coach, and his mental capacity to understand pre-snap awareness and all the things we talk about has greatly improved, which makes him more comfortable, which allows his athletic ability to be at a high level. And he's trained very hard. He's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger than he was a year ago, and it's fun to see that. You know, it's very rewarding to see kids give themselves an opportunity to play at a high level, and his expectations are to play at a high level and have a chance to go on and play at the next level, and the way he's playing, he'll get that opportunity.
Coach, Xavier Crawford has played extremely well also as a young redshirt freshman. Last week, Dwayne Williams came back and made a marked impact on the game. Jay Irvine has played some, and he's injured too. Tell us about the injuries this week for the cornerback position.
Well, it's a high alert position without question. Dwayne is fine, Tristan is fine, and after that we are, we're way down. Dwayne is extremely questionable at best, and we'll see how that goes with him. But that's a tough loss. He's had a tough year. You know, he's battled injury throughout. Came back. I thought he was physical in that game. Made some nice plays, covered well, and obviously was a huge part of us being able to hold down Cal's offense. But you know, it is what it is. And in the back end, we have to be able to up the recruiting numbers there. We have to be able to get that done, to be able to sit in there and say we've got, 4 or 5 corners that we feel good about, and Jay's out for an extended period of time, which we all know. So you take a couple shots, no one's going to feel sorry for you. We have to continue to build this roster to be able to sustain and maintain when it takes some hits with the injury bug. And it's hard to deal with. It's hard for the kids. Injuries are all the same for me. You care about the kid first. You adjust the scheme, and then you try to move your side of the ball on the best as you can without the young man being there. But it all starts in the recruiting area. We've got some young freshmen playing. Again, we lose an outside linebacker that's not ready to play, and Titus out for an extended period of time, so we throw in a freshman in Joa. Joa comes in and makes Champions Club the first time. So, it's good for this team to see those freshmen continually step up and play. X has played very, very well for a redshirt freshman, and that's what you need, creating competition. With a high level of recruiting and allowing freshmen to come in and play if they're prepared mentally and physically, it really creates competition.
Well, it was a celebration down in Reser Stadium this past weekend, and we'll continue reflecting on the win over Cal, but it's back to work. Utes roll into Corvallis this week. We preview the matchup with Utah. Welcome back into the Beavers Inside the Huddle studio along with Steve Priest. I'm Dusty Hara, and we're joined live down in Corvallis with the head coach of the Beavs, Gary Anderson, as we continue on. Now, Coach, we were talking about the resiliency of your team, and we talked about the win and highlighted some of the game-changing players. For the program, what does this win mean for the Oregon State Beavers moving forward? That it's a Pac-12 win. It's the first conference win that a handful of these guys have ever had as Oregon State Beavers.
Yeah, well, a handful of them have played in a game where they've actually participated. I think the number is 6 on the team. So to say that there's a, I don't know what percentage of that is of 118 kids. I'm not a mathematician, but it's very low. So it is a huge victory for us down those lines as far as understanding that we can compete, that we can play with people in the Pac-12, and it was a very good team. That team beat Texas. Okay, that team has had success in this league for a while now, and they were a very good team who whooped us really good last year. So it does help. It helps as you go through the rest of this season. It helps in the off season. It helps in recruiting. So down those lines, it's a big one. But I think you always have to continually focus on, what victories mean. Victories give you an opportunity to right now have a Pac-12 victory. It gives you an opportunity to get a second. It gives us 2 victories on the year. It gives us an opportunity to get to 3. And past that, your ability to really functionally understand that in this game of football, until you get to 6 wins, you'll never be considered a good team because there's no rewards. So 6 and 7 is good. 8 and 9, in my opinion, is great. And 10 and 11, or whatever you get past there, is a team that'll be remembered forever. And that will always be our focal point as we move forward to judge ourselves with our wins and our losses throughout any season. But it's a powerful win because it's been so long since we've had it.
Coach, this win bounces you into a game against a nationally ranked team, one that you know very, very well in Utah. They're always solid on defense. Tell us about the Utes and what the Beavers have to do specifically offensively against this team.
Well, this team has been built, Utah, speaking of Utah, has been built very simply to compete and play with any team in the country. They showed that last year when they went into Michigan. They are going to be very stout, tough up front. They showed that this year when they played SC. They're going to be a team that can roll with the teams that run the ball. They're going to roll with the teams that can throw the ball. They have pass rushers. They have run stoppers on that side of the football. Very, very difficult, talented in the defensive line. You're going to earn your way. You're going to have to beat man coverage, and that will never change at the University of Utah as long as Kyle is the head coach. They recruit that way, so they understand their basis on offense. They're going to want to be able to control the clock. They're going to want to run the football first and get the ball in the hands of the dynamic playmakers that they have. And they're very, very solid on special teams also. So I watched Kyle as he went in from when I left and went to Utah State. He obviously moved and transitioned into the Pac-12. That transition was very clear. It's to get length on both sides of the football. Get guys that can definitely run. You have to have pass rushers, run stoppers. You got to have difference makers on the offensive side of the ball. That sounds all maybe like it's very, very simple, but that's a formula, and it's a formula that I understand as you recruit in this league. You need to do it. I know it even more, and it's different. It's different than, quite frankly, it's different than the Big Ten. You walk in here, and it's more dynamic. There's more different pieces to the puzzle that you have to put in and week out to be able to compete. I think Utah's done a very good job of competing with that or completing their roster down in those areas. And then lastly, they will be very tough. They're a tough-minded group of kids who know how to win, how to expect to win, how to walk into a game and deal with adversity. They've been through all those ups and downs. So it's a tremendous challenge, one we look forward to. And if you can line up and play against the Utes and hold your own, get yourself in a position to win the football game, you know you can play with anybody in the country, and they know they can play and beat anybody in the country because they've proven it.
Well, Coach Anderson, good luck against the Utes, and hopefully it's more of the same for Darryl Garrettson. It didn't look like he got hit with any 10-pound salmon last week against Cal.
No, he was all right. I hope Steve didn't get any either, so I didn't sneak into his house. I stayed away.
All right, good luck to you in the Beavs this week.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care. Go Beavs.
Go Beavs, Coach.
All right, we wrap this thing up with our keys to the game. If you missed that last week, you got to go back and watch last week's. We got our keys to the game next in what will be a wet affair in Reeser Stadium. More Oregon State coverage, and you know what to do with. Fridays, 9 p.m., it's #Beavers. Then get you ready for game day. It's CSN Game Day, 9 a.m. with resident Beavs, Steve, Corey. Talking Beavers is every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, and then us Thursday nights with the coach, Gary Anderson, at 8:30, but you already know that, Coach. Steve Priest. Northwest Honda Dealers, keys to the game for me. It starts number 1, ride the wave of momentum. Do not let last week affect this week. Keep moving forward and capitalize off a big win. Number 2, win the turnover battle. Utes have a tendency to cough it up. The Beavs extra opportunities, turn those into points. And then number 3, convert on third down. 66% of the time, the Beavs turned third down into either a first down or a touchdown.
And I love number 2. You know, I think when you're playing a team that's the leading takeaway team in the league too, this is going to be a battle with the turnovers. I think that was really the key to the game. I really do. It's amazing. But the Beavers have got to run again. They've got to do what they did last week against a not very good run defense, against a very good run defense. 119 yards a game. Beavers have to somehow get double, triple that to win the football game and control the ball all the way along. TDs, not field goals. That extra 4 points makes so much difference. And in a close game, in a game like this in the Pac-12, you got to score touchdowns every time you're inside the 30. And last but not least for me, the defense played so well last week. They improved. They put pressure on the quarterback. They did so many things. Now they've got to get better and better and better.
1967, your Giant Killers beat Purdue, and it changed your schedule. What can winning a game against a team that you're not expected to win do for the rest of your schedule?
Everything, especially when you're young like this team is. They have so many young kids, 48 redshirt freshmen and true freshmen on this roster. It tells them they can win, and the way they won, the extra overtime, the whole works, it couldn't have been better.
Well, the Beavs got number 21, Utah, this week. And next week, we'll be right here Thursday, 8:30 with Coach Gary Anderson on Beavers Inside the Huddle.